This is Hannibal and Piper here from the HannibalTV.com. And no, we're not watching Raw tonight. We are doing a daily wrestling news update, aren't we, Piper? And there's some bad news for Smackdown. Its rating was back down to a zero point 0.4 last week on Fox last Friday night. And the Rampage rating was also down for AEW. They only did a 0.12 rating. On a good note for WWE, they had their second legitimate sellout of the year tonight for the Raw at the Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia. Of course, very historic wrestling arena. And this is the only taping to sell out other than a Smackdown in Hershey, PA, which was another smaller arena. Apparently, the Scope sold out with 7,200 tickets, which is not a huge amount of tickets. So still not great. And Piper wants to say hi again. She's happy to be back visiting. And I am going to talk about some WWE Canadian shows. And I hate to give them publicity and plug them on my channel, but I find this interesting because they're coming to my hometown of Ottawa, and they're also coming to Kingston, Ontario on the very same night. But here's what I find interesting, okay? Let's start with Kingston. To me, Kingston has the more star power with Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Lashley. And yeah, I'm not the biggest Kevin Owens fan, but he was in WrestleMania against Austin. And here's the funny thing. Kingston's only 2 hours from Ottawa, maybe less, depending on how fast you drive, maybe an hour and 40 minutes. Its population is only 136,000. And for this show, they're selling tickets from $28 to $177 plus taxes and service fees. Now, Ottawa has a very, very weak card. And Ottawa's arena, oh, by the way, the capacity for the Kingston arena is 5,700. The Ottawa arena is 19,153. They're selling tickets from $34 to $198 plus taxes and service charge. And this arena is out in the middle of a field. So you're also looking at parking. And to be honest, Drew McDonald, or whatever you call him, is the biggest star on the card. And he's not a draw. No one else on that card is also a draw. So it baffles me that both towns are so close to each other and there's more draws in the small town. Just as a booker myself, I would have put the weaker card in the smaller town because they're not going to draw as many fans in the smaller town. It only has 136,000 population. Ottawa has 1 million, and we haven't had wrestling here in like 2.5, 3 years due to the pandemic. So I find it weird that it's a really lame card for Ottawa. And it seems like Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins have been wrestling on every house show. By the way, these are in August. They've been doing like every house show since the WrestleMania, it seems. So boring. And Cody Rhodes going over every time. David checking in. John, the beautiful women that I have with me right now is Piper. There was some hot ones at the gym today, to be honest, though. Thoughts on USOs? Well, I did do a UFO interview yesterday, and USOs are just unidentified submerged objects. So they're basically UFOs underwater. And most UFOs are trans-medium vehicles, which means they can go outside of our atmosphere, in our atmosphere, and underwater. So I believe USOs are actually UFOs from all the research I've done. And Mark Lewis is Ricky Steamboat coming back as well to WWE. I don't know. I know he's been doing appearances. Jack Tunney's dead. I don't know who runs the Canadian shows. Last I heard, they closed their Canadian office. Good day to you, Mop Shop. Someone says big up Kingston. Raj Piper should date his Dane. I don't know. There's been a lot of people that have wanted Piper to meet another dog that appeared on this channel last week. And that might happen because the dog and the lady are both fun to hang out with. But she is on a vacation right now. And my movie's coming up very, very soon. Lots of stuff going on with my movie these days. Hugh to Hobbs says, remember when celebrities came on and got in the ring for segments? It was funny and entertaining. I like the Piper's Pit one where he sprayed the fire extinguisher on Morton Downey Jr. And it's funny. I'm actually a fan of Morton Downey Jr. now. He's great. But I didn't have a clue who he was when WrestleMania 5 took place. I should do girl live stream. I can't really do girl live streams. Only sometimes, but they have to be tasteful because I got in trouble a couple times. So I really got to not do that anymore. Akeem 8. I haven't seen another vampire movie for a while. I did watch another one that someone else recommended to me on here, and I forget the name of it, and I didn't like it. I did not like it. Something sucks. Something about sucks. This movie sucks. Perhaps it was a vampire movie, and they were singers and they all became vampires. And the best part about it was Alice Cooper was in it, but I forget the name. The best vampire movies I've seen this year are The Daughters of Darkness, which is an old one that I only discovered this year from the 70s, which I actually watched 3 times in 2 days. I liked it so much. And God, I'm already forgetting the other one, and I really liked it from the 80s. And I just reviewed it recently. But it was really good. And I even watched the part 2. The part 2 was not nearly as good. I'm going to have to look it up. Sorry. How awkward. How is everyone doing while I'm looking this up? Oh, I saw The Lost Boys this year. I liked the 80s Naglastia about it. But that was about it. I didn't actually like the Lost Boys movie, other than it reminded me of the 80s. Why is it not showing up? I did take down my review of The Daughter of Darkness, though, because I got too personal on there and too many people were asking me about it. Oh, Let the Right One In, the 2008 vampire movie. I think that might be my favorite movie I've seen this year. And I can't understand what was this other vampire movie that I cannot, for the life of me, remember the name of. This is what happens when you get hit in the head a million times. You can't remember the names of vampire movies that you just watched. Ugh. Well, sorry, guys. I'm going to continue to look for this because it's driving me crazy now. The fun of being live. I will say it tomorrow. It was not near dark, but I'll check that out. From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know if I ever saw that. If I ever saw that. Patrick. This is the interview I did with Leo. I think you mean Leon Vader. That was one of my favorite interviews. By the way, Billy Jack Haynes is going to do an interview with me soon. He's been talking to me. Oh, yeah, Fright Night. Thank you, Mitch Miller. It was Fright Night that I reviewed. And yes, Fright Night, Daughters of Darkness, and Let the Right One In were my 3 favorite vampire movies that I've seen this year. David, WWE banned blading twice, but then they started doing it again. And they're doing it again now, from what I understand, but only here and there. And a lot of the times they're claiming that it wasn't actually from blading. And a few times they did stuff like having Brock Lesnar elbow Randy Orton for real, doing it the hard way, so they could still say there wasn't blading. But believe it or not, there was even a no blood policy for WWE in like the early 90s, but you were only fined if you broke it. I know Ric Flair was fined for it. Bret Hart and Piper lied about it for their WrestleMania 8 match, I believe. So yeah. Then when business got bad, they started doing blood again. Josh, right now, Great North Wrestling is scheduled to come to Petawawa September 3rd. Tickets are on sale at ticketweb.ca. Chris, do I think The Fiend is coming back? Yes. If I were AEW, I would have brought in him, but whatever. Low to Colin. What was my reaction when Eddie Guerrero died? I'll be honest, I was never a fan of Eddie Guerrero. Found him boring. And I did read his book, but I can't say I was a fan of his. He's way more entertaining than Chavo. But what I remember from Eddie Guerrero's death is I was in Puerto Rico at the time, and they had a 10-bell salute to him in Puerto Rico because he had wrestled in Puerto Rico during the time that he was going through drug issues when he was in WWE, I think. And then before he made his comeback, he went on, he wrestled in Ring of Honor and Puerto Rico and other places to show that he could still go. The Man with No Name. I also think Dean Malenko was boring. I also find Chris Benoit boring. Sorry. I'm really sorry about that. I'd rather watch The Ultimate Warrior or The Road Warriors. I'm not saying Chris Benoit wasn't a hard-hitting wrestler or anything, but his character never interests me. And we all have different tastes. I'm sorry. Patrick. No, I never interviewed Steve William. I think he was already passed away. Is my internet getting fixed Thursday? But they're building like an LRT outside the front of my building here. I think it has to do with the construction, but they're coming on Thursday to look at it. Frizzy says Eddie was great. Well, he was a drug addict. And he died very young because of that. And a lot of people will tell you he was an asshole. But if you go by who was a good wrestler, if you want to base them just on their fake wrestling ability, because being a good shade wrestler doesn't mean you're an actual good amateur wrestler, by the way. Just means you're good at pretending to be a good amateur wrestler. If you base it on fake wrestling, could he pretend that he was a good amateur wrestler? Yes. If you find fake amateur wrestling entertaining, I could see why you would like him. Terry says, greetings from Maine. Dean Malenko always gave me the reaction of changing the channel. Short, plain looking guy, crappy interview skills. And as I said, I'd rather watch real amateur wrestling if I'm going to watch technical wrestling, because at least you can use that in real fights, unlike the WWE style of what they call chain wrestling. But again, if you like those guys, I don't hold it against you. Everyone has their own tastes. Chris's Night of Demons was sick. I'm going to have to check out some of these. I'm going to have to go back and look at these. Near Dark, good 80s vampire movie. I've not seen that one either. I'm going to have to look that up. Wallace was disappointed after finding out that Chris Benoit killed his wife and kid. Young Macho Man Perry Saturn's been disappeared for years. I've asked a lot of people about Saturn, and nobody knows where he is. Do I like The Fiend? I was never a fan of the plastic mask, the rubber mask, but I don't hate him. He seems like a nice guy in all the interviews I've listened to. He's also a real amateur wrestler, and I don't deny he was very successful and very over. That's what I'm saying. If I was running AEW or booking it, I would hire The Fiend. Doesn't mean whether I personally am a fan of him or not. I understand that the fans like him. How many bodies do I got now? Well, I don't talk about that. I don't talk about that kind of stuff. Although I can say that I was with the same girl for 13 years until last October, when I made the mistake of having an affair with Blaze. And since I've been broken up, I've more than made up for 13 years of being with one girl. But now I'm not like that. I'm done my partying phase, and now I just want to meet smart, intelligent girls, or girls that I really like hanging out with. Don't want to go out with the party girls anymore. Wrestling is played out, yes. I agree. And on that note, I wish everyone a great night. I got to do some more biceps before my movie comes. Have a great evening. Thank you for watching The Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video. Then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you don't miss any of my latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Facebook at The Hannibal TV for more live streams and videos. And while you're at it, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Hannibal.